So, now that you know what goes into limited animation and the designing of a character and the idea of breaks, I'm going to design a character, like I mentioned, in a Flintstone style. It's not going to be a caveman or anything. It's going to be more in the Hanna-Barbera style when I say Flintstone, but I'm going to do a human. So, if I was to start with a basic shape, could be a circle, could be kind of squarish. We want to think about what is our character that we're drawing. Well, for this one, what I want to do is create some kind of heroic knight. So that means I want kind of a squared off jaw. The round head is fine over here. He's going to have his chest that puffs out and a strong straight back, good posture, and he'll have some legs. I think that's a little too far out. That might be a little better, but we'll play with that as we go. So if he's heroic, he's going to have strong arms, right? So we look like he's got muscles. Even a little line in there might show some muscles. And for now, I'm just going to add a circle for the hand. Now, I don't like how big his chest is here. I think I want it more proportionate to a hero. So something like that might be better. And I'm going to erase this line because I don't need it at the moment. Now, we've all seen pictures of knights, and let me just move this picture up a little bit so you can see all the feet. But I recommend you looking at a bunch of pictures of knights. Whatever it is you're drawing, reference can't hurt. Now, I've drawn knights a bunch of times. I have a good idea of what I want, especially for a cartoony knight. So I got my heroic build here. I'm going to want him to have a suit of armor come down to about here. You know how they have that little piece that comes out? I don't know all the technical names. If you know them, cool. Maybe let me know them. So it comes out, I know, looking almost like a little bit of a skirt, but it's not. It's still part of the suit of armor. And I'm going to put a small little line here to show that it's not connected fully, but it's part of it. And that little curve right there, which is a little too much of a curve, a little messy, that curve shows that there's roundness to it. So what do knights have? Well, they wear some kind of almost knee pads in a way. They're metal. And erase the lines you don't need. And you can do all the erasing at the end. Just remember, draw lightly so the erasing isn't difficult. And they wear boots, right? They're metal boots. They would have some kind of gauntlet on. They might even have a place to bend at the elbow, just like for the knees. They may have some kind of shoulder pad here. Now, we don't need every piece here that we're seeing, but this helps create the look of the knight. Now, this curved line here I'm making is going to be part of his helmet. So I'm going to have his helmet come up like so. And in here is going to be his face. Now, we could make him, since he's brave, we want to kind of stay on that straight line right there for the head, but we can modify it a bit. I'm going to put one eye here and one eye right next to it. I'm going to curve right there. You see that? I'm going to curve that line in a bit and bring it out. What that does is it gives him a bit of a cheek. To give him a strong nose, we can do that differently. We can give him just a straight line like so, like a little crooked L. We can give him a big nose, but if we make it big, it's a strong nose. It also adds, because it's so big, adds a little goofiness to him, if we want that. And I'll put his mouth coming in like so. We'll have him looking at us for the moment. Putting in some eyebrows. Now, he needs a face mask, you know. When you have a suit of armor, or, you know, the helmet, there's usually a face mask in there, so... Now, for humor aspect, we don't need it to officially be the same size over the mouth. Oh, I mean over the open face. Because it's humorous. We could have it that it goes over his nose. We could have it that it comes all the way down. It's your choice. Right? Okay, I'm going to have this come up a bit into it. And then, you know, they always have little, like, you know, feathers or something. So I'm going to do that by just making some kind of wavy, kind of puffy lines. And there you go. We got a knight. I'm going to put his holes here to see through. You don't want to do a lot. Remember, when you're drawing your character, the more you do, especially when you're animating, the more you gotta draw over and over again. So let's give him a hand right now. I'll just give him a generic hand. And we'll do the traditional three-fingered, well, four-fingered by some people, but the thumb's technically not a finger, so it's 3 fingers and a thumb. And if you're curious why cartoons look like this with the fingers, I actually think I'm going to make mine puff out a bit more, make them really cartoony. If you're curious about why that happens, is because back in the old days when they did everything by hand, they would recycle their cells. They would want to save ink. They would try to save money anywhere they can. So drawing that 3 fingers instead of the 4 fingers and a thumb, you know, the normal looking hand like I have here, it would save money on ink, on paint, on time. It was just a way to save money. And I'm going to put his other hand out over here. So if his other shoulder would be here, maybe we'll see a bit of it. We're going to just draw a line to show where it's coming out. I don't need this here, so right here would be his other gauntlet. And I'll make him holding the sword. And remember, erase what you don't need. Okay, see how he's got the sword handle here? Now I'm going to come make the guard. And I'm going to draw a line from the center here, just very lightly up. What that line does is tells me where the center of the sword is, of the blade. So I'm going to come up, because if you ever to look at how swords are made, you know, basically if this is the blade, right, and it comes down, oh, there's my cat. He's saying hello. It's going to get smaller and smaller because it's going to fit into the guard, and then the handle goes over it. It adds strength for it to be a little deeper down in there. So it's about the same width as the handle. So we know the handle's right here and right here if we just follow these lines up. And please ignore my cat. And I will fix that line right there. Okay. Okay, so there we go. We got a knight with his sword. Now, that's okay. We could still play around with this to figure out what else do we like about him. Is there anything we want to do? Does he need a mustache? You know, do you want to do a different type of suit of armor? Do you want to maybe make it more like he's in the Crusades, where his, you know, where he wears kind of a cloak over his armor? So there's a belt, and then the cloak continues down. So the legs are out over here. Do you want to add chainmail to it? You know, to show sometimes they would have their armor here, and it wouldn't be a full suit of armor. There'd only be certain sections. So what we have here are chainmail. Now, you don't want to draw chainmail, even though chainmail is actually links of chains together, and you know, traditionally would look something more along the lines of that. We just like to suggest it. So with a few little lines, it shows chainmail. This works great for, you know, fins or not fins, scales on lizards and on fish too. So maybe just a couple, nothing crazy there. And now I have the look of chainmail on him. Maybe I won't have this piece because of the chainmail. Maybe it just goes straight into him. You know, so now we got an idea. We want to do a knight, but what kind of knight are we doing? So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to refine my sketch, and I'm going to create a different view of him. Okay, so we're looking at this knight I drew earlier. Right? Now we're going to draw him in another pose to make our life a little easier. And when we redesign him, or just work on him, because we never go with our first sketch, let's try to create a personality for this guy. So this one here, we're looking at him. He's kind of brave, but he's a generic knight. So let's think about something else. What if he wasn't your normal knight? What if he was shorter? So maybe his body, let's give him his face still, we'll give him still that square face, but what if he was shorter now? You see, and his head is about the same size as his body, and we'll probably put his legs about the same, a little smaller than that, right? Now, could this be a good knight? Could we still give him that square jaw? What if we puff the jaw out like so, the cheek out, and now his eyes fall along here? What if we make his nose a little smaller, and maybe we'll give him a mustache. Right? This little piece is part of the helmet. And it's okay because I draw in sections. Okay, maybe just... Now we'll bring out here. As we can see, we curve it around. Okay, so now if you look here, I've basically created the same type of knight, but now he's shorter. We'll give him some boots up here too. I also changed his view a bit. But you know what? I'm not happy with that knight. There are things I could do here, maybe add in a little puffiness under the eye, a couple of wrinkles, and this shows his age now. You know, leave his mustache white, maybe give him some thick white eyebrows. And now he's an older knight. Again, it's nice, but I'm not happy with it. I want something maybe in between of what we just saw. So let me move to another sheet of paper. And what I'll do is now I'm going to just change up the shape automatically. I'm going to give him kind of a round chin. So this little boot-like, maybe stocking type of shape here is going to be his head. So his eyes, I'm going to make big circles. And again, we'll have him looking back at us for the moment. Right? I'm going to give him kind of a big nose and a big smile up there. And a little line in there for his chin. Now, we're going to put his helmet on. And I'm going to do the same thing as I've been doing with the helmet. So I just want it lower though. So, and I want it to circle a bit. You see, by adding this little piece right here, I know I'm covering it up, that little piece at the moment, okay, and adding a little shadow will make it look like there's some depth. So let me just... You know what? I want to straighten it out a little bit over here. There we go. And again, we will go over for the helmet. And I'm going to put up the... Nothing crazy, just a few things there. I'm going to have the helmet, once again, come down over here. Alright, now for the next part, I'm going to keep him brave still. So I want him to have a big chest. But I'm going to round it out on this side too. And of course, keep that. And we'll keep this piece of it. Now I'm drawing a little harder than you guys should be doing, because you want to make it easy to erase. Oh, you know what we forgot? Eyebrows. Never forget the eyebrows. Makes your character look weird if they don't have eyebrows. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to come out over here, and I'm going to do the same pose as I did the last time, where he had his sword. Okay. Now, if you're doing this for the actual drawing, I highly recommend you use a ruler or some kind of straight edge. I'm just kind of roughing it right now. Okay, and let's not forget about his feet. And let's just bring them. And now we can do things. Well, let's erase what we don't need first. Okay, we can do a few little lines on him like so. A few little, creates a highlight and a shine. Okay. We could come in here, and maybe in here I'll add a few things of chainmail on them. Okay, I'm going to add the knee pads. So let's okay. And let's try to make them the same size all the time. Size is important so that everything looks the same, looks uniform. When you get into animation, if you don't have your body positions the same size, it's going to look off. Okay. So that looks much better for my knight. But now I gotta draw him. Right now he's basically in a 3/4 pose. What I have to do now is make sure he's in a front view, because our next step is to create a model sheet. So before I do that, I'm going to put him off to the side here so I can look at him. I'm going to redraw him, but in a front view. So if his face and his chin pops out to the side, he may have, we could do it a few ways. We can do it this way to start his face. You see he's going to have a big chin there. Or, I don't like that because that gives it more of the look of a, almost kid-like. So I'm going to make the bottom round, put in the guidelines, right? And I'm not going to draw the knight completely. I'm just going to draw the important features. I'll give him his nose and his mouth. And now his chin, I'll do his chin by creating a line like so. And now that could be his front view. You know, it doesn't mean you can't use this head for the front view, but this head is 3/4. When you're in a 3/4 view, you don't see one side of the head. So this would be you want to draw that a little bit better, right? So because they were nice rectangles I made. Now if we look here, I'm making a little bit of a mistake. You see here, it's covering part of the helmet, so you really wouldn't see this much of the helmet. So I would come over and choose side. Now we don't see his neck, but we see his body, and his body is, from this way, it's kind of a, you know, this heroic, almost upside down triangle. So kind of curving out the sides like so. You see how that creates that powerful look. Now it looks a little bit more like I gave him an ancient Roman soldier's helmet, so we might have to, I'd want to go in and fix that, right? And his legs come down like so, right? And however you want to draw, I'm going to draw my feet this way. Okay, I'll have his pieces coming off the shoulder, but we won't see the whole shoulder like so. Or we might. I mean, everything depends on your style. I don't like to show the whole shoulder at this point. I might even add in a line where his muscles would be. You know what? The more I look at it, the more it does look like an ancient Roman helmet. So I'm going to add in a line here that connects almost, so you can see like it comes all the way down here. You see that? So now it looks like his head's in a helmet. And I had a little place for it to come out over here. And I'm just going to drop his arms. And his hands would be right here. If you want to put his sword in, you can. I'm just going to leave his hands generic for now. We'll close this fist and we'll open this hand. You can erase what you don't need, but we can see here now that this knight is in a front view. The next step would be to make a model sheet of him. So why don't you take some time, put your character together, and next we'll look at model sheets and how to build them.